Okay, so what I'm going to talk about today is design thinking. So I'm also a design thinking consultant. A big financial organization came to me and said, you know, we have an entrepreneurship program and we want people in our company thinking about data, but most people actually, you know, say, we have no idea what data is, and, you know, I'm not technical enough. And I said, well, okay, maybe we should I'll try to build a workshop that talks about, you know, that helps them be aware of the data they're working on, they're sitting on a daily basis. So maybe to give them ideas on projects that they could, you know, internally use to probably even, if they're really good, create new revenue streams for the company, or even just to promote operational excellence, to, you know, streamline all their operations. So I said the best way to go and introduce people to data as a raw material for projects is through design thinking. So I guess design thinking is something most people have heard about. It's a human-centered problem-solving methodology. So really, it consists of several mindsets, and the methodology is far from linear. It's really, you know, it goes from one to the other as long as you're using the mindsets, and it starts with empathy because it really is human-centered. So I said, okay, so how do we do this? And I said, there are three lenses to design thinking. You have the desirability, feasibility, and viability. Design thinking starts, though, with desirability, because, like, when you start with a project, a lot of startups, and new projects, or people trying to innovate, they're either a group of, let's say, techies, and they concentrate on the technical feasibility. You know, they like to build nice apps and so on. But when the app is finished, they realize, oh my God, you know, nobody wants to use it. You know, right? Or maybe they come in, they're like business-minded people, and they say, oh man, this is a really good business plan. I mean, there's no way this is going to fail. And still, nobody wants to buy their product. And so the core of design thinking is that you don't start with technical feasibility, nor with the business or financial viability. You start with the user. You start with searching for this need that, you know, if you compare between a shark bite and a mosquito bite, you're definitely looking for a shark bite. People will pay you a lot of money to, you know, to treat their shark bite. And a mosquito, okay, it's gone after 1 or 2 days. You know? So that's what I thought. Let's do design thinking. And I say, okay, how do we build this awareness? And I said, okay, let's first go on a macro level. And I said, let's study data which spans human civilization. So from cave paintings to the Mayan calendar, we went through all of these, let's say, milestones, data milestones in human civilization, and how did these, you know, let's say projects, data projects, how did it contribute to our evolution or to the development of our civilization? So you can see I go from 17,000 BC all the way to 2017, where there's a data visualization on Google and Apple. So just go on. Wait. Okay, I mean, I can't talk about each and every one. Obviously, I only have 7 minutes, but I'll just talk about the one in the middle, which is the cholera outbreak in London, which I'm sure a lot of you should be aware. Is that at that time, people didn't know where cholera came from, and they were saying it must be something in the air. So that's what people believed in. And John Snow was a doctor, and then he said, no, it's bacteria that's transmitted through the water. Nobody believed him. So that was his gut feeling. He said, I think that's it. So what he did, he got the data. These are my patients. This is where they live, and these are the ones who died. And he plotted it on the map. And lo and behold, he saw that there was there's a concentration in this side of town. So he went over there and said, it's this pump. So he got permission to close this pump, and the cholera outbreak, well, it stopped instantly. And so if you go to London and you go to this street, Broad Street, you'll still see that without the pump and a plaque for John Snow. So it was a huge step forward for medicine, to realize that, you know, a disease like cholera is, you know, transmitted or caused by a bacteria and not something that's flying around in the air. People are, you know, thinking, they get cholera from the air, you know. So another really great statistician who's very unknown is Florence Nightingale. So people don't know this, but she is really, you know, she's known to become a, you know, she's a good nurse. She set up not only hospitals, but also training schools for nurses. But what she's also known for is she was a really good statistician. So she said, okay, she found out by working in these hospitals, you know, in these war zones, she said, most of the soldiers dying are not dying from their wounds, which were inflicted in the battlefield. They said, no, it's not that. They're dying from the, you know, all these germs they're getting in the hospital. And of course, people didn't want to believe this again. I mean, it's hard to make people believe what they don't understand. So she plotted the data. She said, okay, this is how it looks like. You know, these like gray area, these are the cause of mortality was something they had gotten after they were in the hospitalized. So and these are from the wounds. They died from their wounds. And she said after improving hygiene in the hospitals, she was able to reduce the mortality by this much. And so this was like what we call a circular histogram, or actually the Nightingale-Rose diagram. So she was the one who first plotted her data using this kind of diagram. And then I said, okay, at last is like, I mean, talk about data sets that have nothing to do with, you know, with the information you get out of it. So here is like a data set on patents and the people who have these patents at Google and Facebook. And just by plotting it, so the circles are people, the size is the number of patents they have. The bigger the circle, the more patents. And what comes out is that you see a kind of loose company structure based on this data. You see that Apple is there's a core team who are just innovating. Whereas innovation at Google is more like, let's say, spread out, democratic, so teams are given the flexibility and the freedom to innovate. So you have more people in different teams, you know, applying for patent. So this is just one more example to make people realize that actually one data set could give information on something totally different from the data set that you're working on. Just to see. Okay. And so this is what it looked like, the workshop. So I had like people looking at this era analysis, what I call an era analysis. So it's data which spans the whole, you know, history of human civilization. I asked them to put like post-it notes. Let's say the yellow one was something that has to do with the technical viability and financial, you know, how did, you know, and anyway, this is like, these are the posters, the macro level, and then you went down to the company level. So this is like the history of the company, and then we study the milestones, and then these are the templates that I use. And from a macro level down to a personal level, okay, this is a template. Please write down your daily routine. When do you think you're working with data? And think about like, what kind of data are you using? What are the kind of data, the velocity, how often does it change? So this is just to build awareness. And then I group them. So I got some diverse groups, somebody from legal, somebody from cybersecurity, somebody from finance, somebody from HR, working together and seeing if, just by chance, they're working with the same data set or maybe with the same users, and, you know, just to get people thinking. And so this was just the whole, you know, just to end this talk, you know, I started with trying to build insights. So they had to study two things. First of all, they had to know, what is data, you know? So, and the second thing is, well, what are the other people in my company? How are they handling data? So that was like the insight. Like I wanted them to build insights that maybe to, you know, to create a situation where there's an aha moment for them. And there were at least two groups that had that aha moment to ideate on these ideas and to build a concept, create a mock-up, and then to present it. So in 4 hours, they have just the whole process of design thinking, of iterating, and creating a rapid prototype, which is actually really a learning process. And so your prototype is not to validate your idea, but more to learn about the problem or discover needs. Okay, so that's done.